A good talk should be like a comet, dazzling, eye-opening, and over before you know it. I don't know how well I can do the first two, but I'll certainly give the third a shot. The UK is off the pace in the race to 5G. Other countries are accelerating away, not because we don't have drones or self-driving cars, but more importantly, because one of 5G's main building blocks, dark fibre, is in short supply. Dark fibre is key for network densification, and densification is also crucial for 5G. But we don't have enough dark fibre, and the market that's supposed to supply it is backfiring. Openreach has succeeded in shaking off Ofcom's dark fibre obligations, but this error in judgment will soon see their role in mobile infrastructure start to circle around the drain faster than anyone imagines. But there's some good news too. I'll share with you some of the work we've been doing to unlock the 5G dark fibre infrastructure market, and much more besides. So are we really falling behind? At the CTIA Race to 5G April conference in Washington, D.C., the main theme was the race to lead the world in 5G is on, and America needs to win. At stake, millions of new jobs, billions in economic growth, and transformative advances across industries. What's clear is the US sees their competitors not as the UK or Europe, but Japan, China, and Korea. Only a few weeks ago, the ICT ministers of these countries jointly agreed to collaborate on 5G technology. This is a big reversal from the days of 2G and 3G, when the UK led the world. I'm sure many of us remember the US being a bit of a laggard in mobile. Well, not anymore. What can we learn from the US market about the role of dark fibre? And what would a good dark fibre market look like? Two recent US examples highlight for me what a functioning dark fibre market looks like. Zayo recently announced their plan to upgrade a US wireless operator's fibre to the tower network. They'll bring dark fibre facilities to over 1,800 cell sites in 26 markets. When it's finished, Zayo's fibre to the tower network will exceed 10,000 cell sites nationwide. Crown Castle have their horizontal towers scheme. In January, they had 50,000 small cell nodes, and for small cell backhaul, they currently own 60,000 route miles of fibre, including 23 of the top 25 US markets. They've been averaging 2.5 nodes per mile of fibre, and in the last year, they've put 5,000 nodes on air, with 30,000 more in the pipeline. Even recognizing population differences, the US numbers dwarf the small cells deployed in the UK so far. The US has got down to business. Densification is clearly not a problem there. Here in the UK, we've seen a few trials announced, adding up to a few hundred small cells. Compared with the US and elsewhere, 5G is stalled. We're being half-hearted about it. But the news is not all bad. The latest 5G spectrum auction is complete. Vital spectrum is now in the right hands, and the lopsided distribution of spectrum across UK operators has been reduced just a little. But Three's words of warning about capping BT before the auction now seem prophetic, don't they? The auction process bled 1.4 billion of cash from the UK mobile networks, which won't encourage rapid network investment, quite the reverse. It looks like an age-old tax grab, and in the absence of any rollout obligations, it's not good news for UK 5G. We estimate the UK government's 5G Innovation Fund seems to be about 140 million, just about 10% of the auction proceeds. Perhaps the government could invest more of its bonanza to help kickstart 5G. Massive MIMO antenna technology now seems ready for the mainstream. Some hope the additional capacity they create, together with lighting up new spectrum, wards off the need for densification and small cells. Yes, these antennas are clearly helpful, but they don't buy us much time. Usage is still growing at over 40% a year. What's also very clear is not all towers and cell sites will be able to or be allowed to use these larger and heavier antenna structures. Less than 20% of macros in dense urban areas are suitable. So what about dark fibre? Specifically, OpenReach dark fibre access. This time last year, it looked like it would be a godsend. A DFA launch was just around the corner, or so we thought. We even had a product specification and potential pricing structures. Even though OpenReach is the UK's biggest fibre owner, they've given a virtuoso performance in how not to sell dark fibre. Ofcom lost a court case to BT OpenReach, and 6 months later, DFA 2 arrived, a massively watered-down dark fibre product. The heart of OpenReach's legal victory was proving they didn't have market power in circuits above 1 gig speeds. So strangely enough, DFA 2 was limited to speeds of 1 gig and below. Yes, that's right. Dark fibre was limited to 1 gig. Terrific. Up to that time, I thought dark fibre meant dark, and you could do what you like with it. But no, it doesn't, and you can't. It's all history now, but let's hope Ofcom return to the pitch with restored strength in time for the next business connectivity market review in 2019. Naturally, OpenReach's fibre competitors supported the move against DFA 2 to keep fibre prices at economic levels for them and to make sure full fibre investment goes ahead. This keeps the incumbents as the only possible UK suppliers of dark fibre, for a bit longer at least. We've simply got to break out of this stalemate with BT and create a scale, independent dark fibre market in the UK, and damn fast. OpenReach's last act in its scuffle with Ofcom was to cut its 10 gig Ethernet price. This is helpful for the mobile operators, offering a seductive upgrade from the dominant 1 gig and 100 meg EAD backhaul circuits that are in place today, but it does nothing for densification and nothing for 5G. A magnificent move by OpenReach to protect market share and their overall margin take from the market. You couldn't say OpenReach are fervent evangelists of dark fibre, could you? But who can blame them? Good news, we have a solution. Last year, I said there was an alternative to OpenReach DFA. We've made a big leap forward in understanding the economics and practicalities of creating a true alternative to OpenReach. It's based on delivering mobile-centric fibre networks to get us in the race for 5G and to catch up with the leaders in the US and Asia. What is mobile-centric fibre? I'm talking about a fibre network focused on the priority areas for 4G and 5G densification. And London is the most burning and complex area over the next few years. Our design gets us to within a 10-metre dig of the priority small cell locations for the mobile operators. It's different to the full fibre networks that target residential and business customers with broadband connections. A full fibre focus won't cover very important mobile areas early enough. But oddly enough, a mobile-centric approach could accelerate full fibre in the mobile priority areas. It's worth reminding ourselves that in less than 5 years from now, it won't be realistic to run 5G networks using standard BT, EAD, LA lit services over a hub-and-spoke architecture. Remember, this architecture was designed at least 100 years ago for analog telephony over copper wires. It wasn't designed for 5G. Operators of heavily densified networks won't be able to afford the BT, EAD, LA lit services, never mind live with the constraints on their developing RAN architectures. Our target all-in price for a small cell support infrastructure, including backhaul, is below £1,500 a year. Bear in mind, BT's 1 gig EAD costs around £2,000 a year and 10 gig EAD LA around £4,000 per year. And that's for an on-resilient service. If you want resilience, double these charges. And we know future price declines in 10 gig, 1 gig services will be offset by a need to move to 100 gig and 10 gig. It's little wonder that small cell rollout has stalled. At this rate, we'll never break through. Customers and our place in the 5G race are the losers. But it's not just about the price. Using a generic lit solution and a hub and spoke setup is an inherently inefficient and inflexible architecture, especially where macro-micro interworking that's so vital for aggregation, integration, and evolution must be routed through the serving exchange. And there are few opportunities to be imaginative at the optical level. It also creates timing and synchronization challenges, especially for TDD spectrum and awkward C-RAN implementations. Both demand very low latency and very high bandwidth. Even if the Small Cell Forum and FCC forecasts of up to 350 small cells per square kilometre are over-optimistic, lower deployment levels of say 50 to 100 per square kilometre will require huge densification in the next few years, and this will trash the economics of an EAD constrained architecture. Mentor's mobile-centric fibre design relies on 3 key principles. First, deploying very high capacity, high strand count dark fibre rings and ducts, where mobile operators are eager to build more capacity by densification. Second, the network build uses a mixed economy approach, blending the use of fibre in source, purchase of IRUs for existing fibre, and traditional dig, to build rings close to the mobile operator's preferred locations for small cells. Third, ring planning takes us to within a 10-metre dig of key small cell sites and allows for simple, low-cost, almost on-demand fibre provisioning that mobile operators urgently need. We have the data, we know where these areas are and how to get fibre to them. The ring architecture allows flexible connectivity to BT exchanges, independent data centers, existing macro sites, in-building schemes, and probable small cell sites. It naturally provides resilience through alternate clockwise and anti-clockwise routings, as well as direct connections to simplify peer-to-peer connectivity within 5G RAN systems. But a design without a business case is just an exercise in make-believe. We've built the business case, and we can show it's sound, both practically and commercially. In truth, it's a shovel-ready engineering program just waiting to execute. So we know the switch from EAD, LA, will be triggered by a combination of aggregated mobile operator densification demand and economies of scope. In dense urban areas today, the business case for a single operator to build its own fibre network to its existing sites is borderline. There are no savings on a 20-year BT EAD TCO. In dense urban areas, with 2 operators aggregating demand and driving moderate densification, say times 2, the total cost of ownership for the self-build approach is 50% of the EAD TCO, with small cells getting to our all-in target of below £1,500 per year OPEX range. That's with all the infrastructure needed, fibre, plus cabinet and concession rental. Adding a 3rd and 4th operator reduces the per-site TCO by a further 20%. Our design also delivers lots of spare capacity, allowing fibre wholesaling to residential and enterprise-focused ISPs and supercharges the business case. But let me come back to that point in a moment. Outside dense urban areas, the cost per metre of deployment drops, but so does site density and to the pace and urgency of densification. And to make a truly powerful business case, economies of scope are particularly important here. Full fibre broadband is the obvious neighbouring opportunity. Sharon White says BT Openreach must replace its Victorian-era copper network with a modern, full fibre broadband alternative, or risk losing vast numbers of customers to rivals. Fibre up or fade away was her pointed advice. And who can disagree? We've seen lots of announcements on full fibre, including Vodafone, City Fibres, and BT's own scheme. And in the last year, we've become more enthusiastic about the PIA product. On the surface, it's appealing. Why? The cost of building fibre networks has little to do with optical engineering and everything to do with civil engineering. But the good news is, in order to use PIA, you have to deploy fibre. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. You've got to do it. There are some problems, though. First, its scope is currently limited to primarily full fibre network construction. That doesn't help us with our focus on mobile-centric fibre. But given the DFA fiasco, why not turn PIA into a universal remedy to weaken BT's local access supremacy and make it available to all network builders, whether broadband, mobile, or convergence-focused? Second, the draft rules say if the ducts are full, the ISP has to pay to dig a new route, bypassing the congestion. That's not good and may rule it out for areas with the most pressing demand and the most heavily used ducts. Finally, the rules also say that if the ducts are in poor condition, BT must fix them. There is an allowance in the price for some repair work for each order placed, but once that's exceeded, the ISP has to fund the balance of the repair cost. We're interested to hear from anyone using this service. What's the practical experience of PIA on the ground? Is it a dream or a nightmare? Anecdotal evidence suggests it's a nightmare in parts of central London. Ofcom has rattled its BT splitting sabre several times already. But I wonder if, with PIA duct and pole, we may finally have a focus for Openreach. If they could do it really well, and not give preference to their own copper or fibre products, if they could provide a truly even-handed but upmarket service for everyone, then the debates about Openreach's future could end. We could all have access to ducts and poles that give BT so much market power today, and we can each make the call between investing in our own fibre or buying from someone else, including Openreach. Now, I'm not a competition law expert, but this has to be worth looking at. So, just what has PIA, duct and pole, to do with mobile-centric fibre? Well, PIA won't help with the fibre rings. We're not expecting it. For the mobile priority areas, we believe BT's ducts are jam-packed with cables, and we would end up digging round half of London. Where we are interested is if it can help deliver one of the economies of scope for our mobile-centric fibre. Instead of the last mile, we think we can just use the last quarter mile of BT's duct and pole network to deliver fibres from our rings down the streets to pass the many homes and businesses in these areas. Fixed wireless access is well worth looking at too. We said we'll have lots of spare ring fibre, so whether as a direct offering or more likely partnering with leading broadband players, this is a significant scope economy for our core ring build, and a significant opportunity to supercharge UK full fibre. We're confident a cost per full fibre home passed of about £250 is realistic using this approach, radically cheaper than traditional dig or BT EAD-based solutions. So, are we really in the race for 5G? Well, not yet. Not because UK research isn't focused on 5G, because it is. Not because UK mobile customers aren't big users, we are. Not because operators aren't inventive, They are. Not because UK spectrum is locked away or out of commission. It isn't. But because we don't have widespread dark fibre provided by raring-to-go suppliers. It's not rocket science, but it is management science. We know where the operators need fibre to drive their densification plans down to the individual site grid references. We know how to build that fibre quickly and how to break free from BT EAD constraints and bring a legion of architectural benefits as well. We can demonstrate real savings if we work together and generate positive returns on the investments. We even know how to supercharge full fibre in the same neighbourhoods by using the last quarter mile of BT's ducts or fixed wireless access. So the opportunity is there. It's massive, and the time is now. I heard a story about a man who visited a Greek monastery that was perched high up on a steep mountain. The only way to get there was in a rope basket. He got into the rope basket and was just about to be taken up the steep cliff when he noticed the rope lifting the basket was threadbare and beginning to unravel. And he asked the monk, "How often is the rope replaced?" And the monk said, "Every time it breaks." Well, that's the attitude of the incumbents to the UK's dark fibre problem. I say let's replace the rope before it breaks and show some leadership in cracking the problem. We didn't do it in the last 12 months, but so what? Let's work together now, get experienced groups together to do it, and get the UK back into the race. The alternative is not worth thinking about. Thank you.